I don't like rules and boxes. Like whatever throughout my life, whatever you try and fit me within, I'm gonna push past that. Like I talked myself out of my first detention when I was in year 1. So I was like, I don't know, 5 years old. Yeah. And I was 5, 6, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember the teacher was like up there, but I was like, they'd given me a detention for something. And I was like, no, here's why you're wrong. Like, moving up to them. And I won.
Hello and welcome to Meet Your Inspiration podcast with Meri and Rich. Here we're talking about inspiration, motivation and empowerment. Our guests are ordinary people who became extraordinary, and with sharing their stories, we want to empower you to become the person you want to be and to go beyond your dreams.
This morning we have a special guest, Hayden from Panda Productions. Hayden, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing your story.
This is an interesting story that I heard just a little bit, and I was very intrigued to hear more. That's why today Hayden is here with us. And I'm going to start with the question, what is your 100-year goal? What is this?
The 100-year goal is that in my mind, I want to try and be as helpful as possible. So like my personal philosophy is just like be helpful. Like, so if my existence, by the time I die, I'm just helpful, then kind of ticks the box for me. And I also have an extremely obsessive mind. So I kind of took that idea to the extreme of like, what do I want humanity to achieve? So the 100-year goal is that we reach a point where as a human, you are born with free access to warmth, shelter, nutritional food and clean water. And I thought, I want to try and play a part in that. So that's the 100-year goal, is that as a human, you are born with free access to warmth, nutritional food, clean water. I just said it backwards now. Yeah, shelter, warmth, nutritional food, clean water. And it all came about, as I said, just trying to be helpful. And then I looked at, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, level 1. It's just they're the fundamentals of what we need. So if all of those fundamental needs are met, we can then allow our life to be more about what we're passionate about, or what to like finding our purpose kind of thing, is instead of living a life where you're just panicking to find your next meal, how you're going to keep the heating on, that kind of thing. So it's like, if we can, as a baseline, provide that for all of humanity, it just like baffles me that collective human intelligence hasn't done it yet. So that's
a powerful goal.
It's very powerful. And yeah, if people can take from that and do their bit as well, imagine what a good...
the handy thing that comes out of it is people tell me why it can't be done. And then it just gives me more data and information on how to make it happen. And I've got an idea of how it happened. And like my theory around how you would get there is, if the concept that I've got, essentially you'd need to make at least 100 million to fund a part of it, ideally $1 billion, to just get it kickstarted, to go, here's the data, it works. Because the idea is, with my plan, is that when we look at a lot of government spending in public sector where there's support for, like in Britain, we have the NHS, which is free healthcare. And there's what I want to try and achieve, which will come from learning and iterating upon it as you play it out, will be that to fund the concept that I've got would cost less than what the issues raised by these potential solutions is costing. So like the cost of people being hungry, the cost of like malnourishment and the issues that causes in our own health and mental well-being, is what I'm hoping is, if we can take the cost that is to the NHS, to the government every year, if I can work out a formula where we provide all these things at a number less than that, it's a no-brainer to switch it, so that you proactively provide a balance in life, so that that's all those needs are met, and then it reduces these costs down.
Are you creating any, I wouldn't say network, but like a group with people like-minded like you that can go together towards that goal? Or at the moment is...
In a way, yeah. Like I put it as a 100-year goal to give me time. Like I've got 99 and a half years to go. And the first point of it, where I said, I think it's going to take 100 million, $1 billion, it's like, we'll go to £1 billion. So I've got,
so you're
over
working...
the multi-decade plan, I've got a whole bunch of companies I want to build, and they become business services, and then they form a group, and then that group buys companies and flips them and holds them, and you just build this essentially conglomerate, and then you build a trust off of it, and then the trust is what then builds out the concept.
This is a serious vision, a very serious vision.
But where is coming this inspiration, vision to you? You just, you're a constant idea creator. How that comes?
It comes from, there's an interesting experiment that I like to reference where it was done on, I think it was done on mice, and it was testing the concept of what kind of is this metaphor for what we desire and what we're running from. And with the mice, they were put on a spring and then in a tube, and the scent of cheese was put in front of them. And the spring was measuring the tension, because obviously the mouse is trying to get to this cheese.
Mm.
And then in the second part of the experiment, they put the scent of a cat behind and measured the tension, and the tension was far greater when they added the cat. And the kind of metaphor for life is the things that you're driven towards will motivate you, but what is our biggest motivation is what we're running from. And I think it's like, I don't know, lots of time on therapy and coaching, diving into my mind, kind of, it all comes from just what I felt very uncomfortable about and insecure about. It's then, well, if other humans don't have to feel that, that'd be pretty handy. Like I've not suffered much. I just had like, everyone's had like,
experiences different,
like trials and tribulations. It's just like, want to be as helpful as I can, and then looked at, and there's a lot of things I look at. I really look like systems and processes and being as efficient as possible. I really like just putting my brain to it, and it just seems exciting that I could do that with the whole structure of the world.
So if we go back, how did you, when you left school, what did you, when you left school, what was your thought process at that point to get, I mean, obviously it's quite a journey from that point to where you are today in terms of the vision.
School, when I left school, I was studying art. I just wanted to paint. I kind of detested money and had no concept around it. I just wanted to live I guess quite a nomadic life and quite a simple life. I've gone through phases where I wanted things. So when I left school, I didn't really desire anything in terms of materialistic. When I fell into business, I became extremely materialistic and was a right pretentious. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on this. But when I left school, I was studying art. I went to college for art and then went to uni. They lost my work, failed me, so I dropped out. And through all of that time period, it was just, I wanted to be creative. And I guess around me, my mum, I've always had a very close connection with my mum, and she's just kind of whatever I'm doing, she tolerates. It's just always crazy ideas. And my dad has a very financial background, so his kind of words to me were just like, what you can do for money, what you can do. Always drilling in, like, what am I going to do for money? And kind
so it's encouragement from your mum and a bit of extra wisdom from your dad.
Call it wisdom if you like. He just like, because it was like my final college show, he came to it and was like, I suppose it will do until you find something proper to do. And that kind of motivated me to be like, well, I'll show you how you don't need to go and fit this like 9 to 5. You can make money doing what you love, and you haven't, I don't like rules and boxes. Like whatever, throughout my life, whatever you try and fit me within, I'm going to push past that. Like I talked myself out of my first detention when I was in year 1. So I was like, I don't know, 5 years old. Yeah. And I was 5, 6, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember the teacher was like up there, but I was like, they'd given me a detention for something. And I was like, no, here's why you're wrong. Like moving up to them. And I won. And I talked them out of the detention.
Amazing.
So I'm just a stubborn git, really.
Yeah, but this is good. And I think lots of people and kids are, just because they're told don't do this and that, and they start to get in this box. And later on, it's a bit difficult to get out of the box and to look at the bigger picture. Tell us about the university. What was the story about the art? And I'm pretty sure there was something I heard about.
Yes, I went to college. After school, I went to art college and just spent 5 days a week doing art. And that was pure luck, where just in art class one day, as with classmates, just talking about what we're going to be doing after year 11. And one kid mentioned the college I was going to. I hadn't really researched into it at all. I was just like, oh yeah, go study art. And I guess I'm quite academic. I was in like all the top sets all through, in every class, in every year. I was just in the top set for everything. And then I started doing A-levels in year 11 because I'd done all my GCSEs. And there was like 11 of us in the year that were then studying A-levels. So I was like, oh, I'll do A-levels, but then found art college and was like, no, that sounds like more fun. maybe I'll be able to do a bit of both. That didn't work. So I went to art college, had the best time of my life, and was just painting. And so, like, an example there of me being stubborn is just the first year you were just kind of experimenting all different elements of art, 3D, fine art, graphics. In the second year, you do a rotation where you experience what it's like to kind of specialize in each one. And you have to pick your first option and your second option. So my first option, I put fine art. My second option, I put fine art. Like, there was no other option. And then I specialized in fine art. And our final project at the end of the year was this like 10-week project that you kind of had free reign over. And the goal was they give you these square sketchbooks, which were pretty chunky. And they were like, try and complete one of those with all of your research and how you get to your final piece. And then we want to see a final piece. And you then get allocated your own space. They kind of rejigs the studio space so you have a bit more room for your final project. And there was like these small standard desks with like a bit of a backboard. So you had room to put stuff up and make your work. And then at the back of the room, they'd done these like T's with plywood, and they were like much larger spaces. And there was technically 4 of them, and I went straight in the middle, and they were like, this is 2 spaces, by the way. I was like, no, this is my space. And they were like, no, this is 2 spaces. I was like, watch me fill this up with art. And so that 10-week project where they said 1 sketchbook, 1 final piece, I had 3 sketchbooks full, and I had 26 paintings that were ranged from this big to this big. And then my final pieces were 2 6-foot canvases that I built and painted. Wow. So like,
have you still got them all?
Yeah, they're all up in the loft. And so I did all of that and was like, I just want to go to uni and do the same thing I'm doing every day. So I stuck with the institution that I was at college for. It was actually a university. Went to uni, and then I had like whatever it is, like 3 months off for summer that you have back then, and go back into uni. And it was kind of very similar to how I left college. And it was just like, right, do some art. And there wasn't a lot of structure to it. And there was a few workshops, and I just never really settled and didn't get along, and just like didn't really connect with too many people there. So, and then to top it off, they ended up, after my first semester, they lost half my work, fouled me, and then was like, yeah, you haven't submitted enough work. And I was like, yeah, I have. And
but they lost it.
Yeah. So then went through this meeting with the course leader, and she was like, well, can you prove anything? And I'm like, it's freaking art. What can I prove? Like, there was art on the desk when I left at the end of the semester.
Yeah. And
I managed to prove a few little bits, but that was kind of it. And the funny thing was, I was studying fine art, and I remember we had this essay task at one point, and they gave us a bit of creative control with it. And I kind of went off on this mad tangent, and I ended up conceptualizing this theory of how we could eradicate supermarkets and then feed ourselves from like using the land, and then how we could like grow our own food and stuff. And I'm like, studying fine art. So I've got a creative mind.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so all of that ended up, after I lost my work, I went into the second semester, and the course leader was like, yep, it's all sorted, don't worry. No problems there. I've sorted it, don't worry. And then comes to the end of the year, I failed because of that chunk of the semester where there was no work submitted. So she never actually did anything about it.
Oh.
And I'd failed the year. So I came out of uni, and then it's like, what the hell do I do with my life now?
That was really mortifying, really. I mean,
oh yeah, like when I came out, I remember like having like a, I don't know, quarter life crisis. Like, what do I do now? I was just going to paint pictures, and they ended up passing me and then wiping half my loan and stuff. So I only owed like $8,000.
Wow.
And
do you still pay now?
I'm like full on workaholic now. I don't do anything else but work. But in like when the garden company kind of like reduced down and I had a lot of free time, I was basically like, a lot of my friends joked that I was semi-retired. So I went through this phase where I had a garden company that took a few hours of my week up, and then I spent a lot of my free time painting, and then started painting portraits more and more.
So the gardening just came about just through sort of like just help, again, you being helpful, I guess, to start with. Offering to help people, or was that an entrepreneurial sort of thought to sort of cover some costs?
Yeah, I'd always had an inquisitive mind, a very curious mind, and I'd never liked the idea of structure. I don't think I was ever going to have a job. And that's like coming from what my dad was saying to me, like he's the 9 to 5, goes into the city, clocks in and everything. And I was, without kind of consciously thinking, I was never going to do that. And I started making money for myself when I was like 9 or 10. I was in primary school. And from that point onwards, kind of made my own money and had like data to be like, well, you don't need to have a job or anything. You can be quite creative in how you make money. And the garden company came about where I was just, family by nature was quite green fingered. Like my grandparents on both sides loved the garden, very passionate about it. So if we was ever around theirs, invariably we was in the garden. And then just, I've always loved, if you want me to do something, literally tell me I can't do something and I'll do it. Like, you want me to come and clean your house, tell me I can't clean your house in like a day and I will be there. And so like when it came to like, especially like physical challenges, trying to do stuff in the garden, whatever, if it's like, oh, I've got to try and like dig this hole and feel this, that I would be determined to do it like faster and more efficient than anyone ever since I was like a kid, and had this like kind of base knowledge that I didn't realize that people just had, just like knowing what a rose is, what a hydrangea is, and pruning plants, that kind of thing, and kind of you water it, it grows, give it more nutrients. It like just kind of had this base knowledge that was, turns out, good enough to kind of start a garden company. And it all came about that I started it because I was trying to find a job. So I worked for a tree surgeon just for like a bit of pocket money in between, in between college and uni and stuff. So the week I came out of uni thinking, bugger, what do I do with my life? The tree surgeon I'd worked for, he rung me and he called me Graves. He called me after a Bond villain. And he's like, Graves, what are you doing this week? I need someone tomorrow. I'm like stuck. I need someone on the ground tomorrow. And I was like, oh, conveniently, I've got nothing to do with my life. I'm free. So when I hadn't worked with him for ages and we'd kind of like not spoken in a while. So I went and did this job with him and I was just on the ground while he was up the tree and remembered everything, picked it all up. And so throughout the day, we're chatting about what I was doing and life was falling apart. And then just kind of stuck with it. I was like, yeah, I've got time. I'll just do this. And it was a couple of days a week, just casual work to help him out and everything and to help me out to do something. And I was just always trying to find a job, tried working for other tree surgeons, applied for jobs, didn't even get like a single interview on anything. And there was one day where we was on this job and the gardener showed up to cut the grass while we were there. And the guy I was working for knew him. They was kind of having a bit of a chat. And then I ended up talking to him. I was thinking like, hopefully I can get a little bit of work on the side working for this gardener. And at this point, still had no kind of concept of business or like entrepreneurialism or anything, other than I just kind of made money all through school and stuff. And then always been kind of like frugal and innovative with how I kind of acquire things legally. And talking to this gardener, he was like, I haven't got any jobs going, but I do next door's garden and they want everything weeded. I don't want to do it. If you want to go give them a job, job's yours. And I was literally, he's like one of my best mates now, but we were talking about it a couple of days ago. And he said to me, he was like, yeah, I didn't realize that was your first ever job. Because I'd like worked for friends and family, like for like a tenner an hour at my best mate's nan's garden kind of thing. So I've never actually done a job, like gone and quoted a job. He didn't realize that. So he's like, yeah, go next door, give him a price to weed the garden. So I show up, give her a price to weed all of her garden and everything, rock up with like the tools from my mum's shed in the car that I inherited. And that was it, did the job. I was like, yeah, let's see if I can do a couple more. And it was just a case of like, I will make money so that I'm not broke. And it was when I kind of went to try and get some more business in, I went to advertise in this local magazine and chatting to the guy about advertising. And then he talked to me about networking and then brought up BNI and was like, have you ever heard of this thing? I was like, no, what's this concept? Business owners go and have a meeting. Oh yeah, sounds cool. Bring me along. And it was like 15 quid to go along. And I was like, 15 quid, like I'm looking at paying you 200 quid and then 15. I was like, oh, I haven't even got that money. And he was like, honestly, you're better off just go along and like do some networking and meet some business owners. And I go along and then this room full of business owners talking business. I, on that day, discovered what public liability insurance was. Didn't know that was a thing. And then they kind of went through these referrals and one-to-ones. And I was like, what's a one-to-one? And they're like, yeah, so we go grab a coffee, learn about each other's business, how we can help each other. And I was like, what? You're telling me, I was 21, didn't know anything. I was like, you're telling me as a 21-year-old, I can go to these people that have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years.
And they'll share knowledge.
Exactly. And I was like, take my money. How much is it? It was all the money I had. And I was like, so if I give you this money, I have nothing. I didn't even have a lawnmower at this point. So I was going to join a networking organisation as a gardener with no lawnmower and a car that I inherited and a few hand tools out my mum's shed. And then if it doesn't work, I've got nothing. And I was like, yeah, cool, take my money. So I joined and then, yeah, within like a month, I'd made that money back. And then
But that's one of the best ways to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to take the advice the simple things, start off simply and let it grow. Literally, in that case, let it grow, and you were, making such a difference.
Yeah, I just got obsessed with one-to-ones and just like learning from as many business owners as possible, and then just managed to avoid a lot of mistakes, managed to make a load of mistakes.
So how long did you run the gardening business?
Still got it, had it for like
Okay.
7 years.
Okay. You do a little bit now as well on it, or not? Not really.
Well, it's quite a micro business. It just kind of runs itself. So, like in terms of actual garden work, I probably once every few months might go out for the day.
Okay.
And more of like a quick little job if it needs doing, and it's quite nice. Or if it's like a nice thing to go out and do the job, or it's like with the regulars, if we just need to do a bit of extra, then I might just shoot on site to have a go on the tools again.
So you've got a few guys working for you on that?
There's only one person.
Okay.
Very micro, and then just as and when we need extra help, they can come in, and then all of the back end side of it's all systemized. So like all of our customers are on fixed monthly fees, so that's all automated. They just pay a standing order. The keeper looks after it all.
But you had a good concept about that, because although it's a new business and small, I remember you mentioned something where I listened to you that not like branded, but you make sure that it's everybody, you do exceptional job, and people were very pleased that what was exactly, you give them all this creativity and idea and how the things can be done. And I remember you were mentioning something which makes me...
Was that in my talk?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it was. But it was exactly about your gardening business. When you start, what makes you different than other gardeners?
I'm trying to think specifically, because there was a lot of things. So a lot of it I became, when I was growing, so the garden company's kind of fluctuated over the years, and at its peak there was kind of 10 of us in the company, and like in terms of a lot of conversations, communication I was having there, when it came to like marketing and communicating to customers and then keeping them happy, a lot of the focus I ended up just making loads and loads of content. So the whole philosophy around that was just trying to be really efficient. So I was having a lot of conversations with people, and they would have questions about how we look after the garden and how it would work for them and whatever it was, all these questions about plants and blah, 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 blah. So I just kind of looked at every single question I'd ever been asked and was like, well, let's just turn that into content. I haven't got the time to answer every single question to every single person. So if I just take all the questions I've been asked and turn it into a piece of content, and that video is then an article, and then it gets turned into multiple posts, then I've answered the question multiple times, and then people will discover it. And then if I can start to put processes in place where back then I was doing it all manually. So there'll be a process where when someone inquired, before I arrived in their garden, they'd already had multiple touch points with the business that was just all focused around them. So like the way our website was laid out, the way the content on socials was posted and put out was all focused around what people want from their garden. How do we make them aware of the problems they're experiencing? How can we educate them on just how to do things themselves? How can we showcase how we've done it for other people just like them? And similar thing for the website, and was always very driven by this vision and mission and the values of it, which was communicated everywhere. So by the time I arrived, they already knew so much about what we could do for them. And then it got to this point where I just refined and improved that process, and eventually got to the point where I could just arrive on a lot of jobs and they'd be like, when can you start? So, do you want the price? And they're like, well, as long as you're not sky high. And like one of the like golden eggs that we had that worked really well was whenever I quoted a job, invariably people are getting other quotes in 2, 3, 4, 5 quotes. And so I'd always ask the question. And then again, like looking at that process, like, okay, how can I make that more helpful for the customer? Well, hopefully customer, they're a prospect at this point, but how can I be more helpful there? And how can I try and up the chances that they'll pick me? And that's where I made like the checklist. So it just became that every person I quoted, they would just get this checklist afterwards of like the top 5 questions to ask any gardener before you trust them. And then that would be content as well, guiding you on like, here's how to do what you do, like how to look after your garden. And then if you're going to have a gardener do it, here's what to check. But then they would always get this checklist. Okay, you're going to get some other quotes in. Here's what you should ask every gardener. Make sure they tick these boxes. Oh, look, we ticked them all.
Perfect. I mean, that's a
But
great
that's
philosophy.
perfect.
Yeah, it's a fantastic sales philosophy too.
Yeah, and it literally just came across. I always would collect data. So then I had a spreadsheet system. Love nerding out on this system when I built it. So it was
Go for it.
one Christmas over the like couple of weeks in the garden company. We took 2 weeks off for Christmas. So I was trying to look at ways to systemize the business more. And I had this like project manager, VA, was helping me out looking for CRM systems. So I gave them a list of like must have, should have, could have of what I wanted from it. I was then meeting up with a developer that could build our own system. And it was going to be like 60 grand to do phase one. And it was just not going to work. And at this point, the company was so junior and we hadn't really systemized a lot. So going through looking at various systems, ultimately what I found was, despite looking at all these CRMs off the shelf and a bespoke system, the best thing was just Microsoft. Just have Outlook and a spreadsheet. And then I just obsessed over a spreadsheet over the Christmas holiday and built my CRM system. So it had all the data and contact info. And then I called it my ECR. So it was inquiries, clients, revenue. So on my system, it had all the inquiries, and then I had a traffic light system of like what stage they were at and all the like vital data I needed to know. So as a garden company, I needed to know what town they're in, what job it was. So then that, depending on that, dictated how much time and attention I needed to make sure I was chasing them up with, and then how that would feed into the team's diary. And that then was what enabled me to, when I had like the full-time admin assistant, it was then the system that they could manage. And one of the best things we did on the CRM, so it had contact details, but then what we did was, this is what I now call my calendar method. So we had the months of the year divided into seasons. So spring, summer, autumn, winter. And under each season was what we could do in the garden that time of year. Because garden, it's seasonal. Everybody just kind of, everybody just goes, oh, it's winter. I guess there's nothing to do. And like networking, I'd show up. I was a BNI going there every week. And then as soon as it comes to the colder months, they're like, oh, what are you doing now? It must be dead. I'm like, man, there's so much to do in the garden. Why does no one realize this? I mean, especially larger gardens, you've got so much work to do throughout the winter to get ready for the spring, and just other things like pruning fruit trees. And if you want to plant anything like planting trees, do it in the winter. It's when you need to do it, and all these things. So we made what I call the calendar method. So for every month, we had like 2 or 3 things. And then back when we used to do it manually, we would notify all of our customers, like, here's what to be thinking about. Here's some ideas for the garden. And here's what you can do to help improve your garden this month. If you need any help with it, any extra help, let us know. And that became a system where my assistant could just, where we had gaps in the diary, could just go through that, send out all the messages, and then that would fill the gaps. And that then fed into the content. So we just look at the calendar and just go, right, if this is what we like, this is what's coming up in January. So let's just make sure 2 months before then, all of our content is educating our audience on those things and drumming up inquiries for that. And then I built a really great system for bringing in work where I could go buy a van, buy the tools, employ 2 people. And we had a method for marketing that would go out on top of what we were doing to bring in the work. And it would just be a case of each quarter, we would have specific marketing messages that went out and then brought in loads of new inquiries.
Sounds like a book.
Yeah. So through this whole phase, I was battling getting on and off the tools. So there's like so many problems that I solved in the business. And it was all on this journey to get off the tools, because as soon as I discovered business, that became my new obsession, and I was just obsessed with it. Hence why I spent an entire Christmas holiday building this spreadsheet and this ECR. And I wrote out like how I was getting off the tools step by step, and it became a 25 chapter book. It was like 70,000 words, and I just never published it because
No, really?
I never technically got to a point where I was happy, and so I never published it. And like now I delete the whole thing and rewrite it, and it
sounds like it's got a huge amount of value, and I'm sure a lot of people would absolutely treasure it. So
yeah, it's what dictated my life every day. Just get off the tools. And I realized I'd go back to the ECR thing. It was in clients, revenue. So this whole system was designed to track all the inquiries that came in, and it would track our clients, and then through Zero, track the revenue. And the key thing I was tracking was the source. So what was coming from BNI? If we did some leaflets, if we did Facebook ads, whatever source it came in, it was all tracked. So on the inquiry, I could see where it came from. And then on my clients on Zero, I had a tracker. If anyone's listening and has Zero, this is like one of the biggest untapped gems on Zero is trackers. So you can set 2 and then you have tracking categories. So I set source for the source of the client, and then you can have up to 10. So BNI, referral from a customer, from Facebook, from Bark, from leaflet, whatever. And what that meant was I could see all the data on if an inquiry came in, and we was looking at that data over the quarter, over the year. It's like, oh, look, we're getting loads of inquiries in from Facebook. Amazing. Let's put more effort in. Well, then you're only looking at it half-sighted, because how much is that doing for revenue and for profit? So that's where I could, because I had all the trackers on Xero, I could then take the data and go, of all the invoices we've sent, like the services that we had, I turned into really structured systems. So I knew the margins on everything. And then I could just look at the revenue and go, okay, so here's the quarter, 30% of new business is from Facebook. Of the clients, that 30% has become 10%, and of revenue, it's 0.5%. That tells me I get a lot of, I call them the buy nows, buy later, buy nots. That tells me I'm getting a lot of buy nots from Facebook. And then I could look at something like leaflets and go, it's 15% of inquiries, 25% of clients, and it's actually 60% of business. So that tells me when we do a leaflet drop, if someone contacts us, they're a buy now, and we're more likely to close them. And then the work that we get is more of what we want. And that became the case. So that's how, with all of that data, that's how I created a really predictable system, so that when I bought a new van and employed people, I could...
You knew by leafleting, that would be the way to get out in that particular area, potentially.
I got really obsessed with leaflet psychology. And I went well beyond leaflets of how you get people to buy from you. And that was like a whole journey in itself.
Escape to luxury at Hempstead House Hotel and Spa, an elegant country house hotel in Bapchild, near Sittingbourne, Kent. Relax with indulgent spa treatments. Dine in style with exquisite cuisine. Perfect for getaways, weddings and events. Experience luxury in the heart of Kent. Book your stay today.
Be the first to discover Kent's best events all in one free app. What's On in Kent is a new and rapidly growing app where you can find days out information, places to eat, festivals, concerts, markets, and much more around you. Just with few clicks on your phone or computer, you can stay updated with real-time info and explore events across Kent. Don't even think twice. Just download. It's free. You non-stop learning, isn't it? All the time.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's interesting, obviously, because you mentioned about using Xero. Now, Xero today is obviously, as an accounting package, is used by lots and lots of businesses, but probably only used by a lot of small businesses, but probably only a small margin. And normally the accountants roll it out and say, oh, here you go, use Xero. This will help us to do your VAT return and all your track your invoices, and you can do quotes and invoicing on it. But I'm sure what you just said, most people don't get anywhere near that level of detail. So you obviously taught yourself quite a lot about Xero.
Oh yeah, I'm just always obsessed with making things more efficient. Like I've got in ThinkPanda like these guiding principles, and the biggest chunk of I think I said in my talk, but the biggest chunk is all around efficiency. So like even for example, invoicing, like I completely changed the structure of my company, in the garden company, based on making life easier for the customer and for us. And one of the biggest things was like overcoming the challenge of late payers, because it's just we'd send invoices out and they'd be like chasing, and not so much to people because they're late payers, it's just because it's a pain in the ass. They'd like go on the bank and transfer 30 quid to the gardener for cutting your grass, and obviously that could range from like 30 quid to thousands of pounds, and the thousands of pounds are generally easy to get in because it's, oh yeah, better make sure we pay that bill. But especially with regulars as well, we're going there every week, every fortnight, and it's like, oh, that 30 quid, yeah, we'll do that this weekend, we'll do it. And it's like, oh, we've got to do it again. So amplify that problem with, if we're doing anywhere from 1 to 18 jobs a day, if we're doing 18 jobs a day, chances are they're more of those little ones. And then if you've got that every day, and then you've got multiple vans, that's a lot of invoices to track.
Huge amount.
So get Xero, and it's like, oh, I can automate a lot of the process, so I can set up templates and I can just click a button. I'd come home and just be like, invoice, done. So compared to when I had like Microsoft's Word doc going on there, change the number, it's like, that made things faster. And I was like, no, it's got to be better than that. It's got to be better than that. It's got to be faster. It's got to be more efficient. And I changed the whole structure. So I was like, we're doing these jobs every week, every fortnight, whatever. And the customers having to transfer us money every time. What if it just became, I then learned on Xero, you could do repeating invoices. And it's like, well, I can't repeat a fortnightly invoice. But what if I change the whole thing into a fixed monthly fee? And how would I make that work for the customer? and how can I make it work for us? Like for the business's side, it's like cash flow becomes far more predictable if I have a fixed monthly fee to the service. Not only that, I can get a new customer and it's £500 a month, send one invoice, repeat it every month, never have to look at it again. I just have to, it just comes to reconciliation, tick, 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 tick. How do I make that? Like, what's the benefits to the customer? Because I can't go to the customer and say, we're going to change everyone over to a fixed monthly because it makes our life easier and I don't want to be chasing payments. They don't care about that. What they do care about is their own garden and their own life and their own busyness. So when I went to customers and then when we went to customers, I made it all about them of like, we're going to change this process so that you don't have to go on your bank and it's just fixed monthly fee then. And what we also did was change the service into an annual plan. So we go, here's your garden, here's the months of the year. So where I had that CRM database and those monthly tasks, put all of that down into an annual plan to break down what we'd be doing in their garden for each season and each month. And that meant then everyone went on a fixed monthly fee, made life easier for them because it was just set up a standing order, or you just deal with one bill a month rather than multiple. And there was no fluctuations because it wasn't like, oh, we have to do a bit extra today, a bit less today. And so I'm trying to like reel through the problems this solved. And it was because I initially did it for the cash flow simplicity, but it just compounded well beyond that, because it then meant with the marketing, it was all around our service was this annual plan that breaks down what do you want from your garden. We put that into an annual plan to help you achieve that. And it's all on a fixed monthly fee. So you just one payment, budgeting's easy. So for the marketing, that became so much easier. Then for admin, when I had an admin assistant, so much easier. Bookkeeping was so much easier. And instead of dealing with like all of these payments, like 40 payments became 10. And it was just so efficient. And then on a team, like managing staff, it then meant that we had this system where they all had that annual plan. So what do I do in the garden was, well, here's an annual plan broken down with months, what your priorities are. So then it meant the calendar system was so much more efficient. And there's so much that we did in that garden company to make it so efficient and so systemized.
Well, it sounds like, as a customer, that sounds absolutely amazing. You definitely don't go every month, oh, did I miss this? Because I'm struggling sometimes with some payments for school, for obviously except the direct debits, but everything else is sometimes you're just getting lost. And I know that everything is very easy. You go in your app on your phone and you do the payment, but sometimes you are busy.
And from a sales process, it's then when you go and quote a job. So your marketing, you've used that as an asset in your marketing to draw people in because it's simplicity. Then in the sales process, if they're getting those other quotes in, it's like harder to compare because you've got the gardeners rocking up on an hourly rate or a day rate and that's on the input. Nobody wants a gardener. They just want a nice garden. So they're all selling the gardener. We were selling the garden. So you want this garden, it's this much a month. We guarantee this is what you're going to get. And we had some guarantees set up. And the guarantees were just based on what do people complain about. When I go around and ask them about have they had a gardener before, what do they complain about? Why did they get rid of the last one? I'm like, okay, well, I've now got loads of feedback on that. Well, let me build a couple of guarantees into our service that are all around the biggest problems that people have got. So we like guaranteed a visit to the day, subject to weather, but it was like, we will not miss your visit to the day, because one of the biggest problems people had was the gardener's supposed to come on a Tuesday and then wouldn't show up, wouldn't communicate. And so that and a couple of other things, just put some guarantees together. And then when it came to comparing, it's like, oh, option A is this much an hour, option B is this much an hour, option C, well, how do we break down what the monthly is into an hour? And it's like, it just became, well, they're just selling us what we want and it's really predictable. And if it seems a bit more money, it probably was, but it's just solving the problem for them. And then for retention, it then meant if someone, like, we're all human, we make mistakes, and I was employing staff, like trying to make sure that the game of Chinese whispers of having a service and delegating it is very difficult to manage and systemize. So yeah, there was plenty of mistakes we had to fix, and retention became so much better on a fixed monthly fee because of simplicity. So if you was invoicing after every visit and they were unhappy and they've got an invoice, they're going to be kicking off way more. Whereas it was just this invoicing was all separate because it was done on a monthly thing and it was a standing order and simple. They didn't have to think about it. The service became separate, and if there was an issue, it's like, well, we're paying this monthly thing across the year. So it was more about just what's the challenge? Can we come and fix it? Yes, we can. Cool. So it meant retention was so much better. And I've still got my first regular. The first ever regular we got in the garden company 7 years ago, still got them.
Wow.
Sounds highly scalable. As a business, what you've done there and that structure, it sounds highly scalable, and it sounds scalable across lots of different businesses. Obviously, that model working for gardening, and obviously I'd imagine if you implemented that to multiple gardening businesses across the country, they would have a huge opportunity to actually scale their businesses as well and use that particular CRM system, particularly using Xero. I mean, it sounds incredible. Sounds a great opportunity, Hayden, even with all the other things you're doing. I don't know, obviously, that's the thing, but it's using those genius ideas sometimes to actually sort of to do something really incredible. And again, that's massively helping people as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there was one big mistake that I made though. Well, there's loads, but there's one of the biggest mistakes I made. Took me too long to learn, and this kind of like, I don't know, tortures my mind every day. And literally one thing that and it was a ripple, like one key mistake I made, if I didn't make it, my garden company now would be a team of 25, 30 people running itself with managers looking at a point of easily looking at how we scale to like 50 plus and start putting in a C-suite. And like it would just be running itself without me. And I would be coming in purely to focus on the vision and like, what are the biggest challenges? Let's solve them. And that was all around managing staff is where I cocked up the most. And there was one person in particular, they joined us in lockdown. They had a driving school, and so business gone overnight. But holy hell, like how they knew what they knew about gardening, God knows, like it's been a passion for years for them. And they were like, so many business owners I've spoken to, and they talk about the challenge of finding staff and that you can't find good people and you'll never find someone that's as passionate as you or as good as you. Bullshit. You will find, I've had so many people over the years, I've employed over 30 people over the years. I've got so many people that have been better than me. Not like, I'm very broadly good at like loads of different things. And then I've employed people to do like fixed things that are just go well beyond what I'm capable of. And this guy had a lot of skills that were matched or better than what I was. So what I should have done going through this phase, what I was always trying to employ him, like he was self-employed and then working for us 5 days a week. And then with the driving, it was like, oh, I can do it again. Oh, I can't do it again. Oh, I can do it again. Can't. We've lost down 1, 2, 2.5, 3. And the challenge was he had quite high life expenses. He rescued animals and had a lot. So he was like, look, if you want to employ me, I've got to be earning 45 grand a year. And I was like, can't afford it. And I don't think I had a salary at this point either. So I just wrote the idea off. What I should have done when I look back now, it seems so obvious to fix. I should have said, what if we put you on 30, 35 grand a year salary? Let's look at the biggest challenges that I've got managing the team. I will employ you. You become operations manager. So you're in charge of the team because he was amazing on the tools, had really good knowledge. So he would often be the one that we try and get training. Because like one thing we looked at was what if you worked, because I'm going to try not to go on too many tangents, because you had a really good system for the van. So you had tools and comms. Tools was the driver, I'm responsible for all the tools. Tool goes missing, you're responsible. Comms was the passenger. They're responsible for the phone, navigation, and all the before and after photos and such and information. So if there's no photo, if you've gone to the wrong place, comms is responsible. With him though, it was like, well, what if you had apprentices that you worked with and you trained up? That way, if we are paying X, let's just say 40 grand. If we're paying 40 grand in salaries for 2 people, random number, what if instead of 2020, what if I could give you 30 and the apprentice is on 10? That way you're training them up and I can give you a higher salary. So we kind of experimented with that idea and it didn't work. I can't remember why. I think it was too late by the point I found that idea. But what I should have done is just said, look, let's put you on 35k. You are the operations manager. Here's the biggest challenges I have managing the team. If you can be responsible for that, we'll set some goals. At the end of every month, if you've ticked off each goal, which basically means I haven't had to step into operations in any way, shape or form, you'll get a bonus. And then what we'll do is every team we can add, your base will go up. So if we can get, again, random numbers, if we can get, for every team we bring in, we can increase by 5 grand, then your base could be 50 grand a year, plus the bonus of solving problems for me. And then what I would have done for all of the team employees, which I never did, which I should have bloody done, is the same thing. Here's your base salary. Here's the biggest problems I have managing a team. It was things like sick days, punctuality, tools going missing or getting broken and stuff. So if we set goals where it's like across the month, if you are attendance is whatever percent. If you early or on time, whatever percent, you'll get a scaling bonus. So should have set that up for the team, which would have made his life easier to manage them, and then had him managing with a similar structure. That would have completely taken me off the tools, and that would have kept them a lot happier, and it would have given them an incentive. And I should have been way more transparent about where the company was, the financials and everything, which I wasn't. I was quite hidden because I didn't want to show any like weakness or flaws. So I was like, yeah, everything's rosy and dandy. Whereas I should have been much more honest with them about the challenges and everything in the business. And if I'd done that, it would be a completely different company.
But you know what? From that, there's so many life lessons in that, isn't there? And you know, and one of the things that people do, and you see it in many entrepreneurs' life stories, is that they get to a certain point and they have a setback, and they have something where they learn that they could have done something to take it, and it's using those key points, and then you use it to take you to the next level. Because once you've got all those little set points, that gives you such a big advice, doesn't it, for the next stage?
And it's interesting you said about how this could be implemented into other businesses, Richard, because I would love, like that garden company, I think about scaling and like, would I go and set up another garden company or the bigger idea that I love the idea that if there's a garden company with someone that owns it, that's like a boomer that's coming towards retirement, that's got like 15, 20 staff, it's kind of stable, going well, could be better. But a lot of the team is like, surely we can modernize and systemize this a lot better. And the owner's kind of thinking, I retire soon. This is how we've always done things. But when I'm retired, it'll be like, you guys can take over the company. And they're like, we don't want to take over the company. Like, we love what we're doing and we'll get to work outdoors every day. We don't want this company. I'll come and buy the company and then change all the processes and systemize it.
Exactly. And
basically flip and take all the things that I made, all the things I did wrong before, correct it into this company. So if anyone's got a garden company, if you know anyone that's got a garden, or any trade business really, like depending what it is, cleaning company could do the same thing. And I'd love to go in and like change the business, which is a lot of like how the whole concept of ThinkPanda came about, because it was just the problems I solved and the systems I loved.
So if that's you, contact Hayden.
Yeah,
he's got the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
So from that, how did you go to the next stage?
ThinkPanda.
Yeah.
That was all these things I'd done in the garden company, all these problems I'd solved. So seasonal dips in the business, cured it. Gardening, people see as like such a seasonal business, cash flow steady through the whole year. We actually made winter our most profitable time of year. And then things like overcoming late payers, solved it. Dealing with time wasting prospects, solved it. And attracting the right staff and clients to you, solved it. So I'd done all of that, and the key component that solved all of that for me was content. I just kind of, whatever I needed to communicate, obsessed over the mind of who I needed to get into and turn it into content. And because if I said it to someone, well, that takes my time every single time. If I've recorded myself on video, then it's a piece of content that can be distributed. It can be on the website, it can be on socials. You can do one video, chop it up. You can then take the transcription of that video, turn it into an article. You can then take that, chop it up into blogs. So I was like, content has been the key catalyst. And with my garden company, that challenge of where I'd made those mistakes and wasn't fixing them, of retaining the team and everything, it became this revolving door with staff, which had advantages. I built this really refined system, like where I said about tools and comms in the van. You have never seen a yard and a setup for a garden company so systemized in your life. If there's another garden company that's got a better system, I'd love to see it. But the disadvantage was I was terrible at retaining staff, because I came across really robotic and alienated them really well, just because of miscommunication, really. But through all of that, the company downscaled, and I just turned it into more of a lifestyle business. So this is where I was like working a couple of days, well, it was like 3 mornings a week, earning like really good money relative to what I was doing, and had all this free time. And I was like, well, content is the thing that solved it for me, and I'd love to build another business. And from there, I was like, had all this free time pondering, what can I do next? I want to build a company. I ended up consulting with this business, helping them on their business plan, and talk about efficiencies and obsessions. So I wrote them a business plan. It was a 40-page presentation going into marketing strategy, sales strategy, operational strategy, service offering, financial systems, and how they would track it. It took me 3 hours. I just sat there and was like,
wow.
And I was like putting all these things together. And I'd had as you know, like I've got a podcast and I do that kind of sparingly bits at a time, purely for fun, really. And I'd done 1 or 2 seasons of it, and I was like, these are all the things I love. I love sitting having conversations with business owners. I love diving into business systems, processes, visions, and I want to turn this into a business. And like content was a key thing in the garden company that helped solve so many problems. I was like, well, there we go. I'm going to do a business that's all around content based on your business strategy. Whatever you want to achieve in business is making the content to help it happen and accelerate it. And needed a name for it. Came up with the concepts. So named it ThinkPanda.
Where the name came from?
The short story is I thought of it. The long story is it involves expensive urine. And so about 5-6 months before, I started taking these supplements. I got really obsessed with my health, and I was taking these supplements for brain care, and it's like focused nutrients for your brain to help it thrive. And I started taking it. The first thing you get is bright yellow pea from all the B vitamins. And months go by, and I'm like, am I like, is this doing anything, or am I just paying for expensive urine right now? And I remember it was like 6 months in, I ended up talking to someone. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but my brain's on fire. Like I said about writing this business plan for someone. Like, it took me 3 hours to write a 40-page presentation.
Like a robot.
And like, whatever writer's block is, talk about the exact opposite of it. Like, I could open a blank page, whatever I was doing, and that page would be filled in. Like, I couldn't type fast enough to get everything out. And it occurred to me there was these supplements. And then, so this was like 6 months in or whatever. It was around the time that I was starting ThinkPanda. And I was like, I need to name this company. And I was like, I want it punchy. I want some alliteration, something memorable. ThinkPanda Productions. Cool, done. And that was the start of it. And we started just making content. So I was like, well, that's the key thing. And so it was like 1 hour, 1 recording, a year's worth of content. So it was like, that could be, depending on what package, it would be like 12 videos, 52 reels, a dozen infographics, 6 carousels, and 26 blog articles. All from, and it would be a framework where you wouldn't come up with the ideas. I would step into your mind base. I'd get in your head and understand what is all that experience, knowledge, wisdom you've got in your brain about your business, of what you do. How do you take that, extract it, and translate it to your audience, to draw in your ideal team, your ideal client, your ideal partners you can collaborate with? And a lot of it was just like reduce, reuse, recycle. So how do you take an idea? Well, that idea can become a video. You chop that up, that becomes reels. And then those reels, the video can become a carousel, and then that can become various infographics. And then the whole thing can become a blog article. And then you chop those up and they become posts. So we was making the content as packages. Downside was going into the business strategy. Well, they're one-off projects. That sucks. You work with someone. When are you going to work with them next? In 4 years' time. And wanted reoccurring revenue. So it was kind of, I was like, well, the handy thing is these packages are like 3, 4, 5 grand. So it's a big chunk of cash when we get them. But the downside is I want a reoccurring revenue stream. Like the garden company. It was great. So wanted to flip the model, but that was where it, and also it would solve a lot of challenges for my customers, because we was making all this content, and that solves one component of the problem, because then it's like having the time and the know-how and the ability to just look at how you constantly improve uploading and what you do with the content. So I was trying to do more to help them. And then I made a playlist of videos that would explain what to do and how to do it and everything. But people just didn't have the time. And I had a couple customers, because as well, just like, what would get me more customers? People seeing loads of content go out and it's like, they've been ThinkPandaized. Maybe I should get ThinkPandaized. But the challenge I had was the opposite. A lot of people would pay out, and it baffled me. Like, I had a couple of customers where they would pay thousands of pounds for content, never used it, like never put it out. And I was like, are you happy with it? Are you hating it? And a lot of it just came down to, like, honestly, I'm like trying to find the time to schedule, and they put a few bits out here and there.
So you prepare everything and they just need to post it. Nothing else.
So they had folders where it's like videos, reels, and it was all designed for your site, your socials, your sales process. And the packages evolved more and more. And yeah, it was like, this needs to go on your website. Use this in your sales process, because this is what I did in my garden company. It worked well. And this is what's for your social media. But yeah, people are doing what they do in their business.
And they forget about it. They almost forget how important that bit is.
Well, it's just the list of priorities in your to-do list.
But it sounds, obviously it's such an important part. I mean, so many people spend so much money on marketing. And yet what you're doing is basically turning something from almost like an interview, going through, recording the key points of their business strategy or their big advantages within their business. And you're taking that and creating incredible content, which then can be utilized to market the business repeatedly. And obviously, and you can tweak that and repurpose it and model it and turn it into something, or it can evolve. And if something new comes out, you can do the same again and take it to the next level. And so many people have marketing companies and they just do so little stuff to get real messaging out there, but you're giving real solutions to that.
Yeah, and a lot of it came from podcasting. The whole idea is like you have this hour conversation, you can make little reels from it, and like from the hour you might get a handful of them. And I was like, that whole concept would work if you just, because I would talk to people that wanted a podcast, and I'm like, why do you want a podcast? And they were talking about lead generation and stuff. And I'm like, you realize you want a whole nother business that's not going to reward you financially for years. Like it's so much work. I was like, if you was to record a whole series of a podcast with one business, you could have an entire portfolio of reels from it. And I was like, well, what if you just condense that down and you only focused, like I'd done loads of episodes of podcasts, obsessed over conversations and people's minds and how you influence behaviors and whatnot, and read so many books and studied books. And I was like, you could literally build a framework of the right questions, guide people on how to answer it properly. And instead of having a series, you just sit down with someone within that time and capture it all. And that's what it was. And then, and as you said, like with marketing and how you can translate that into results with people to build their business, is then how the service evolved. And then that's where we launch it. Like we're recording this on the 1st of March. We launched the retainer service in March right now. So Monday is when we kick off. And that's all around making the content wasn't good enough. We have to do that, but then we have to manage it all for people. But not just that, we then have to help have this, I call it my GPCP method. So when we think Panda as a business, this is where I say it's business strategy meets marketing, because we go into the business and look at what's your offering and then how do we tailor it so that it's designed for your ideal clients. And also how can we do things like where I talked about the buy nows, buy laters, buy nots. Well, you need to find a way where you can interact with the buy nots and the buy laters without using your time, but still offering value and putting barricades in the way where like the buy nots can't waste your time. The amount of business owners that spending so much time with people that then never turn into customers. It's just, well, we have like the lost lead. A lot of people's service offering goes from lost leader to core offering. So it's like, yeah, we'll spend the time, we'll answer questions, and then that will turn into customers eventually and such. Or they might do a service where, like in the garden company, someone might ring up and be like, oh yeah, we're thinking of getting a few bulbs in for the spring and a few little plants in and whatnot. Can you come around and give us a quote? Like, if you've got a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 5 success rate, that means you have to go and look at 3 to 5 of those gardens, go there, spend an hour, come back, put a quote together. By the time you've done all of that, gone to the nursery, bought the bulbs and plants and done it, like, you're not making any money. It's a lost leader, because the hope is you get them on a regular.
Can I just ask you, GPCD, what did that stand for?
GPCP. So it's your gifts, your prospects offer, your core offer, your profit pump. So when we work with a business, we go through that framework, and then that's how we think Pandaise them. So first things first, give people. How can you give them helpful information? So in my garden company, if you go on the website, it says, is your garden ready for the spring? Take our quiz to find out. And it's a quick 2-minute quiz. And it's like, have you done this in your garden? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Gives you a score. Depending on how you answer, you get a different score. And this is your score. Would you like our top tips to get your garden spring ready? Put your email in and we'll send it over to you. At this point, all we've done is help them. And then when it comes to your content, is guiding people into the gift. So when I'm doing it in reverse order. So to get the GPCP, you do your content. Your content is to help people become aware of their problems, educate them on how to solve them, and showcase how you can solve it for them. That's building attention. You're getting attention from the right people that could become your client, that could become an employee. Just focus on, if you want them to work for you, what problem could you solve by them joining your company? How do you educate them on the problems they're experiencing? How do you showcase that your company's great to work for? If you want a customer, how do you make them aware of the problem they're experiencing? How do you educate them on how to solve it? People are always scared about giving away secrets of how they do things. Like, just give it away. Like, if you've ever employed someone and tried to teach them to do exactly what you want, the way you do it, you know how hard it is to get people to do it. If you put out some content telling people your secret guide of step by step, no one's ever going to be able to do it how you do it, because you're the one that developed it. So give it all away, showcase how you've done it for other people. That then, you've got their attention. You need to turn attention into action, which is an employee or revenue.
Yep.
So that's where the GPCP comes in. So use your gifts across your website, your socials, when you're networking. On your business card, have a QR code that goes to a gift. So in ThinkPanda, we have like a quiz. How effective is your marketing? Take the quiz to find out. Other things we have is free guides. So the biggest problems that I solved in my garden company is what we do in ThinkPanda to help people solve. We've got a free guide for the 4 key things we solve. So on a lot of my content on socials will be seasonal dips. I overcame seasonal dips in my business. Here's a quick overview of how I did it. Would you like the free guide where I break down the full process? Here's a link, put your email in, you'll get a full guide on how to solve it. That, I went and had a meeting with someone the other week, and it was the finance guy and the owner of the company. And I'd met the finance guy at a networking event, and he was like, oh, sounds really good actually. Because he handed me a pamphlet and a brochure, and I was like, can I give you some pointers? And I was like, and I talked about gifting people. I was like, this is all about you. You're not gifting people. Just make it really helpful. And gave him some ideas, and he was like, we should talk. So I went and sat with them, and like on our database, I went to set the calendar invite, and he sent me their emails, and he sent me the owner of the company's email. And then I went to put it in as a new contact, and it was like red box comes up, and I was like, what's going on? Has the system glitched out? And it's like, can't duplicate contacts. And I was like, dude, what do you mean can't duplicate? This is a brand new contact. System's bloody broken. No, the owner of the company had engaged with my LinkedIn post or something and got one of the free guides literally a couple of days before or the day before. And then when we had the meeting, I brought it up, and he was like, yeah, it was something relevant to what the team's doing. Actually, I sent it to them. I was like, oh, read this guide because it could probably help you on literally the thing that they're trying to solve. And I was just like, so stoked. And fantastic. So that's your gifts. Give people whatever it is if you're a garden company, it's like guide people on how to get the best out of their garden. If you're a plumber, guide people on how to sort out their heating and everything, what problems to look out for. Whatever it is, it's just take information that's really helpful. The reason people are phoning you up, if you've got the buy laters, the buy nots, take all the things they're asking you, solve it, give them a free guide, give them a quiz. And then we all think about our core offer. So I was saying a lot of people have a lost leader into the core because we're all trying to get people onto that monthly garden maintenance package. We're all trying to get them on the retainer to do the marketing. We're all trying to fit that brand new boiler. That's the core thing of what we do. But if you can give people and then in between have a prospect offer that is a way for them to experience what it's like to spend money with you, because the easiest way to sell to someone is if they've already bought from you. The easiest people to sell to are those that have bought from you. So this was like in that example with the garden company. It's like if I'm going around to quote looking after all of their garden and I'm competing against other gardeners, well, I've got my checklist. So once I've visited, I'm going to give them the checklist. What can I do before? Or if I had a prospect offer that they'd spent a little bit of money to get an experience of working with us and get their brain understanding, they give us money, we give them service. So as an example, like in the garden company, we haven't quite developed this out yet because we thought of it recently, and it might come a bit later on if we're scaling more. And it would be like after the quiz and everything, they've got all this information. Would you like your top tips on the spring? We then send them that as an email with a PDF. On that email, can say, would you like a one-on-one consultation with in your garden to understand how to achieve year-round colour, give you an annual plan breaking down month by month what needs to be done in your garden, how to get the best of it, and look at your soil type and what plants will thrive in your garden. This one-on-one consultation is £100, random number. Or we can come around and give you a full report and all of that. A lot of and this is a good way where you can convert the buy nots and the buy laters into a bit of actually, maybe I do want to buy from you, because you're not talking about maintaining the garden. No. You're just giving them, it's giving them an extension of all of that information, but specifically for them. Your gifts is like, here's how to do stuff broadly. Your prospect offer can be, here's how you can do it for your thing, your business or your garden or your house. And so they can spend a little bit of money, go around in their garden, give them a full report on that. Well, they've just paid you to go give them a quote, but you're not giving them a quote. You're productizing it into something far more valuable. Absolutely. And then from there, it's like that annual plan. Yeah, we can do that for you. It's £500 a month or whatever the price. And if they say, oh, we'll probably get some other quotes in, well, here's our checklist. It's like by this point, you've been so helpful to them. They've already spent money with you. They've already got a relationship. They've gone through that know, like, and trust you. And that's the most important thing, isn't it? Because like that buying from people, but the fact that the service that you're giving is so different from anything else, which makes you stand out. And as soon as you stand out with exceptional service, I mean, that's one of the things that is lacking in so many businesses. Is exceptional service. Oh, definitely. This thing, I think I wrote about this the other day. It bugs me because people see good customer service as answering the phone, as replying to an email.
Yeah.
And because there's always that thing of like, especially tradespeople, where they're like, oh, good luck finding someone who answers the phone and gets back to you. And it's like, that's good customer service, but exceptional customer service is answering their problems before they even realize they need to ask it.
Correct.
And that's where the whole free guide thing, and you're like, you can develop a GPCP. We haven't even got onto the last P yet, which is my favorite one. But the GPCP, you are taking, like, you're an expert in your industry. You've got so much knowledge. Whatever business you've got so much knowledge that you just plug it from your brain, turn it into content that you can use in a way to give people and be really helpful, have a prospect offer that helps guide on what your core does. You're answering so many problems. And then this creates a system that you can automate. So like in ThinkPanda and the garden company, and then what we do for customers, you just automate the whole process because it's really predictable. It's a bit like, I'm trying to think of, we're watching Lost at the moment. So everyone's ever watched Lost. It's like crack cocaine, but TV. Like you have to watch it. But there's so much in there with, there's one character that's like a con man, and a lot of it is just predicting human behavior. And it's like you watch it and you're like, how did he know that they were going to do that? How did he know they were going to do, and he's suddenly done everything and predicted every action. And it's like taking that process of like, you've worked with people, however long you've had your business, you've had so many interactions with people. If you can collate all of that information, you can predict what people are going to ask you. You can predict what actions they're going to take.
It happens over and over again.
Yeah.
It
So
does.
you can put it all into a process. So then your process, suddenly it's like, it's not like do away with good communication. You're exceptional at serving your customers because you're answering the questions they have, and you're answering questions they don't even realize they need to ask you, all before they even think to ask a single question.
Correct.
It's great. Do you want to know what the last P is?
Yes,
definitely.
of course.
Absolutely.
The last P is my favorite one. I call it the profit pump. So you've gifted people, done the prospect offer. That leads to your core offer. If you can turn that into a retainer, amazing. And the last one is the profit pump. So this is where you take the things you can add on to your service that often many business owners do as a loss leader. So going back to that example where I said in gardening of a loss leader, and it's like if someone wants a few bulbs and a few little plants, we'll scratch that. When you add it onto the core offer, it becomes a profit pump. Because if you're going to the garden every fortnight, you've built a relationship, and then you've got your calendar method where I talked about all through the year. You've got I say have a nurture campaign and an aftercare campaign, and they're like email campaigns, communication campaigns where you just give people a monthly update on like, so in the garden case, here's what to think about in your garden. To prospects, they get the nurture campaign. Here's what you need to be doing in your garden. The aftercare campaign is for your customers. Here's what we're going to be doing in your garden. Here's what other things to think about. So you take your calendar method, that's all the information, feed that into your aftercare campaign that's giving people those ideas that feeds into your profit pump. So these are all the little extras you can add on to the regular service. So in gardening, it can be the bulb planting, tree planting, whatever it is. So if we're going to all of our customers every fortnight, say we've got 100 customers, and we put out to them when it comes to the time of year to plant your spring bulbs, they get an email, a message. It's coming into this time of year. It's time to think about if you want some extra spring colour, here's some ideas. If you want any help from us, let us know. And there's literally just a button to click, give me a quote for some extra bulbs and plants. And then there's a blog article that's like the top 10 plants to put in your garden for spring. Well, they can find out some extra information and they can click to take an action. So you've got a transitional call to action, direct call to action. How many of your 100 customers are going to go, oh, actually, a good idea. I'd love to have a few bulbs or whatever. What kind of budget should we put together? You will fill the gaps in your diary just from that, which is what I used to do, but we used to do it manually. You can automate the whole thing. You already know the garden. Your team already knows the garden or whatever your customers are. You already know the customer. You know about them, the unique components of them. And if you systemize really well what we had in my garden company, all the unique things that they mentioned, every little complaint, every little thing of little Whiskers is going to the vets and stuff, their cat, whatever, all noted in the calendar in a set structure. So we know all this information about them. And like in gardening, for example, we work on a lot of private roads. We're not going to like 123 Fake Street. We're going to like Oak Manor on this road that's 4 miles long. And it's like, good luck finding Oak Manor. So we know the customer. So we haven't got to go there, walk around the garden, work out where the bulbs could go. We've just got to go to 100 customers. Who wants it? 25 of you. Cool. One trip to the nursery, get the supplies for 25 customers in the van. On your calendar, you've got the added thing. And there's another tangent to talk about the calendar and how systemized it was and color coded. But they've now got the 25 customers on that visit. Bulbs go in, plants go in. that then, what was a loss leader becomes your profit pump because it's just bringing extra revenue and pumping profits. And yeah, we work out what that is to a business. That's just
it's interesting because that's I sort of the nearest thing I can think about that into simple life that you see repeatedly is in the car industry. So the car industry uses the options list. So the options list, here's the base car. And of course, you then look at the options list, and of course, you want all these different things. Or the colour that you really want is an extra £700, £1,000, or if you're buying a Ferrari, £30,000. You know, and like you said, that is the profit pump.
Exactly.
Because like all these things don't really cost the manufacturer really very much more to put in, but for you that's the difference between there's the baseline almost of the product with a margin in it, and then you put all that in it. The margin is absolutely huge in that. Yeah, that's exactly what you do.
There's a lot of businesses and a lot of business models of big companies where their core offer doesn't make them anything. So like car companies make next to nothing on selling the car.
Correct.
And like I'm trying to think of like a standard margin in a car company is like single digit percentages where they're making like 3-4% on the car. But it's then if you do like a lease deal and there's finance attached to that or the annual service, that kind of thing, parts and everything, they're the profit pumps. Exactly. And that's where they can make a huge markup. And yeah, just try and work out literally GPCP and just write down how can you give people free guides, quizzes, whatever, if you know how to build them. Prospect offer, what can you do? A lot of it is like, how can you turn your service into like a consultancy thing where you go on and guide people and package it into something, turn it into a product essentially. And then your core offer of doing the thing, and then profit pump is the add-ons that you can do.
Can we talk quickly about some of the setbacks that you had and some of the big lessons?
Quickly? Setbacks?
As quickly as you can. Because I'm sure that you had really big lessons that you learned. And just an idea to the people, because obviously talking about inspiration, we are very clear that nothing is happened overnight. No success. And although today you're building something amazing and everything you did, I'm pretty sure there were some lessons you learned on the way.
Tons.
Probably one or two, or some of the most significant ones.
I mean, like where I am right now, I like in my mind, I am like cripplingly unsuccessful. Like I'm tormented every day by, I look at like the knowledge I have and what I can do and how much, like the lessons I've learned. In my mind, I am so unsuccessful that there's like this trend at the moment where like I see it a lot on LinkedIn, no doubt everywhere else, but it's, I went and had coffee with my insert age self. So I went and had coffee with 16-year-old me, 20-year-old me. So I've thought about it for myself, and I'm like, if I went and had coffee with 22-year-old me, they would sit down and ask me about where I am, and they'd be like, disappointed, go do more. Why are we having this coffee? Like, you need to get back to work. You haven't done enough. Like, I'm so unsuccessful compared to like, 22, 23, 24-year-old me of like, 24-year-old me is more successful, to be fair, has got a bigger company doing more, admittedly is like fighting so many fires because it's kind of like built up, crumbled down, obsessed over every mistake. And like the biggest one, what I said about the guy that worked for me and like how I did that wrong. And if I'd learned that and done that, I'd have a company doing like millions in revenue.
But you know what? You've got to use those minor setbacks and those little things, because what you've just been talking about, the whole of that strategy, we've just been talking over the last 15 to 20 minutes, that strategy is absolutely one of the most critical parts for a successful business. And you've got all those there. You've just absolutely outlined it so clearly in your mind, and you can apply all those principles to multiple businesses and turn them into an incredible success. And you using those examples in your own business strategy. I mean, as an entrepreneur and putting different ideas, I mean, at your age, being a young man, you have got so many opportunities to turn those into highly profitable revenue streams. And you look at it, and a lot of people at your age do not have that strategy in the back of their head. They are still, they're fresh out of university.
That's
they're going through
people's minds aren't like this.
They don't really know what they want to do. They don't know how to turn it into a strategy. But you've got there multiple strategies that could do I mean, there are so many successful books with less information in than you have just strategized. And you think about what you can turn all that information in. So I see it, and I'm sure you agree. I mean, you look at it and it's a massive positive step. And what I think, but we often talk about it on this podcast, is about people talk about imposter syndrome and seeing, but like what you've got to do is you've got to turn that slight setback and use it into the most positive thing. And you're doing that by sharing, and your whole strategy to go to the next level. I mean, your 100-year plan, if we go back to the 100-year plan, and you look at it and go, well, if you put all those strategies into every aspect of the things you want to build for your 100-year plan, wow, it's going to fly.
Yeah, and it's... Oh, there's definitely one thing I was going to add there that was going to be really helpful, but I thought of something... all of the things I've learned, and like, I torment myself every day, and it's like, it's weird. I'm a very happy person, and I'm very happy every day. I just like torment myself a lot. And, but as you said, like, there's a lot where I'm like, I know I can do a lot. And like, this is exactly what ThinkPanda will do to ThinkPanda businesses. And then it's that whole goal of like the 100-year goal. It's all broken down into multiple decades of like decade by decade, what I want to achieve. And fixing that problem, going into a business and doing it, it's like, once ThinkPanda does that for multiple and for customers, and we have them and look after them and everything, it's then buy businesses and do the same thing. And it's like, I can see where it's like taking a slump and then you build it back up, and I can see how it can accelerate very fast. And yeah, we've gone through a lot of information that I spent years and years and years obsessing over and learning. And if it seems overwhelming, there's two things you can do in your business right now, which is when we onboard a new client, the two things we do first to focus. Because when I introduced this, came up with the concept, I was like, we need to get a fast ROI. You can't, like, we do an accelerator and then we do the retainer. So the accelerator, we make everything all in one. Like, all of that content, there's too much to list, but like all of that content that I talked about in the content packages before, it's that more, we build the GPCP, all of those things. So you've done that, and then we've got a retainer. And like many people know in marketing, it takes time to nurture, especially organically. But there is things you can do to get an instant ROI. Two things in particular, which if you want to know what they are, drop me a message and I'll tell you, because I won't reveal them. But there's two things you can do. You will get an instant ROI, and like you can just do it in your business now. And that was the first thing I was going to say, is those two things. And then the second thing I was going to say, going back to lessons of what you asked, Meri, is I think one thing that's a running thing that, regardless of every problem I've had and every solution I've found, is never accepting things are the way they are. And that's kind of going back to the first intention I talked myself out of when I was like, this tool. It was just a person of authority told me, you've got this thing, it's a detention. And I refuse to believe that that's the way it works. And I'm like, no, don't accept it. It's not right. And that's kind of been a huge factor that's helped me achieve a lot of things. Like I've had court cases and stuff where people, I've won every single court case I've had. There's only two. But that comes to the same thing where a lot of people around me were like, oh, just pay off the thing, whatever it is, get rid of it. I'm like, no, I refuse to believe. Like, I will stick by what I believe in. And even if it goes wrong and it doesn't work in my favor, I will learn so much from this and then put better things in place to avoid it in future. And then went and won. But even like when I was at college and I talked about at the back of the room and there were two spaces, I was like, no, this is one space. Like, stun and get I am. It just won't accept things are the way they are. And there's so many things where, and like, my dad going on about what am I going to do for money, what job are you going to have? And I'm like, I refuse to believe the only way is to have money coming from a job. And I think of it in a way of, I guess you could label it first principles thinking, but I just look at the laws of physics. So tell me, like, here's my goal. It's like the 100-year goal. And someone said, I don't think you can do that. Tell me why I can't do it. And show me, when you tell me why I can't do something, show me in the laws of physics how it's not possible. If the laws of physics can't tell me it's not possible, then it's possible. And I have a lot of crazy ideas, and it's like, I love it because I tell people crazy ideas and like things that are just like seem no way achievable. But it's like, yeah, but if I conceptualize it and I can reverse, like, here's the outcome I want and reverse engineer the steps, like the 100-year goal. I just had, this is the goal I want. Let's reverse engineer it. That kind of guides me on the multiple decades. It's like, well, there we go. There's a plan. And all I need to do is go find the people that can help me make it happen. And, there's a few funny examples of just like things that I've done that just seem so bizarre. Like my podcast, the most recent series, was like, it'd be handy if I could have a sponsor to help fund the cost of it, like all the editing and whatnot. And there's just little things where it's like, editing's so expensive. Well, it's basic editing. What if I just get a student to do it and they make a bit of money, and because it's only simple stuff? Well, then I've just reduced the cost down massively. What if I could get a sponsor to fund the entire series? And it's like, I literally just was having a conversation with someone. I was like, we got onto the podcast and I was like, do you want to give me 500 quid to sponsor it? There's no audience. Like, very little people listen to it. I do it in drips and starts. It'll be one series. Here's what I'll do. Here's what you'll get. And they were like, yeah, all right. I was like, you should just go and ask for stuff. Find people you need. I had it with, and as well, it's like perception. So on the art subject, I'm technically a professional artist because I sold a painting. I sold some scraps of wood and canvas and some paint for over $2,000. And like, when you look at it as scraps of wood and canvas and paint, what? Well, no, I painted a family portrait for one of my customers, and to them that was like, what am I creating? I'm immortalizing their family. They're now on the wall, this like beautiful holiday picture of them all together. But yes, it's a few bits of wood and canvas that I've painted on a Sunday afternoon across 6 weeks, just sitting there chilling, watching TV, painting this thing that then brought value to someone's life. And a lot of it is just stop putting limitations on things. Like, there's on my phone, on my screen, when you look at my home screen, it's a picture of Mars. And why do you think it's Mars?
Good question.
It will be something genuine again. Genius.
In my mind, humanity's biggest goal is to become multi-planetary.
Yeah.
So if humans have a plan B, and like right now, all our eggs are in one basket, and like you look at the history of Earth and how many meteors have hit us and created a mass extinction. We think of the dinosaurs as being the big example. That was I think that's one of 6. And in like history, you learn of the dinosaurs. That's one of 6 that have happened where Earth has experienced this mass destructive action that's wiped out a lot of life on Earth. And yeah, so to me, like, humanity's biggest goal is to become multi-planetary, and it's like looking very achievable for the end of this decade. There will be, might not be other humans, but that humanity would have reached Mars with rockets that could take us there. With some form of, like, with robotics, they're starting to build a city, and it's like, that's the most ridiculous goal, to go to another planet. And it's like, so I have it on my phone every day. I see it, and it's like
the impossible goal.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm just trying to like feed people, like, or the long term. Like right now, I'm just trying to like build a little marketing company, and it's like, well, that's nothing compared. And
that's similar to Elon Musk's whole idea, wasn't it? I mean, electric cars. One thing, having sort of looking at the space shuttle and how the space shuttle could go up into space and how to make it come back. And the impossible thing would be to get a rocket to come back down and basically land back on the thing that it even took off from without falling over.
No, they do that every day.
And yet you look, if someone says, well, that's like ridiculous. I mean, even in physics, you'd say, well, actually, if you drop a tube out of, like a toilet roll, and you drop it to hit the ground,
what are the chances it will land?
Land on its end and slow right down to the point when it sort of, and it doesn't fall over. I mean, the whole thing is remarkable.
Yeah.
And yet, by pushing the boundaries, the whole team around that have managed to do it. And it's the same philosophy you're looking at. It's similar, isn't it?
Mine's just like a micro version.
But yours is looking at a mankind situation.
Which is a lot of like what Elon's philosophy is, and it's like humanity needs to get to another planet, otherwise we could be wiped out, and we're so vulnerable. So make us multi-planetary, and then with electric cars and Tesla world and everything else they're doing, it's like we need to transition to sustainable energy. But no one, the only way you can transition to sustainable energy is if you make products that are just better, more fun, and cheaper. You can't like have electric cars and it's like, well, you can't get anywhere with them and they cost a fortune. Like, you've got to be able to get to the point where they're mass produced, and it just becomes, there's no question of, do I want this vehicle? It's like, well, this one is cheaper, easier, safer. There's no question anymore. And it's like, you've got to apply that to everything. And like getting to another planet, it's like, it's got to be easily achievable. To have like people living on Mars, it's got to be like very minimal disturbance to life, and it's got to be like low barrier to entry in order to get that. Otherwise, it's just never going to be achievable. And that's the other thing I said in my talk. The So I have miles on my screen, but the one thing I remind myself of every day is the statistic. If you can remember, what's your chances of existing? Do you remember what it is?
It was a very small percentage. What was 0 something?
I don't. Well, it's as a 1 in
4 trillion, billion, quad.
It's 1 in 400 trillion. The chances of you existing. So the chances of you existing as the exact individual you are is 1 in 400 trillion.
That's a number.
Yeah. Well, so for you to exist, like humans are created by a sperm cell and an egg. The sperm cell and the egg, like how many sperm cells, how many eggs are created across the entire lifetime of an individual's life? And it had to be that exact one. And the chances of just that then working and turning into 9 months later turning into a human is like not a high chance. And not only that, so even that's a ridiculous odd. But that had to happen for the 2 humans that created you as well. So if it was a single cell that was different, you'll no longer exist. So the entirety of human history had to happen the exact way it did for you to exist. So if one little thing changed,
it would be different.
And like when you go into your grandparents and then your great-grandparents and your great-great-grandparents, and I'm trying to remember the numbers now. I heard it where it was like when you get to your great-great-great-grandparents, I can't remember what generation. It very quickly you have 1,000 ancestors just in that line of generation. So obviously you have 2 parents. They have 2 parents. That's 4. That's then going to 8, and it's like it doesn't take long before you've got thousands of people that all had to happen the exact way. It's like your great-great-great-great-great grandparent on one side, like if you had a great-great-great-grandparent that conveniently their car broke down in a little town, they walked into the pub that night, they met this girl and that became their wife. It's like, what are the odds of that all happening? And that was your great-great-great-great-grandparent in order for your whatever generation next. And it's like, the 1 in 400 trillion, it is ridiculous. You've won the life of lottery.
So that's why find your goal, find your passion and make it valuable.
Yeah.
For sure. Your time here.
Now you've got a special question you'd like to ask me.
The habits?
Yes.
This is recently we start to explore and see, is there any daily habit, weekly, I don't know, something that you implement in your life that is, helping you to...
Yeah, loads. They've all gone out the window. Literally, like the last... since January, like my whole routine has gone completely out the window. Just where, like in ThinkPanda, took on investor, got an office, employed people. Like that is it. I now just wake up, work, and then before like the end of I injured my shoulder. I popped it out a few months ago. So up until the point where I did that, I had an amazing routine and became really obsessed with health and had. So it was very strict sleep routine. I tracked my sleep every night and everything on my Fitbit, and woke up at the same time every day. Went straight to the gym and spent like 2 hours in the gym every day. I want the whole 100-year goal. I want to live for it. So I want to live beyond 100. So I'm trying to get to a point where I make no emotional decision what goes in my body. Science and data tells me what to eat, when to eat, how to sleep, when to sleep. I've completely fallen off track with it, so I'm flawed there. But I was getting in a good position where I was really looking after myself. My whole eating routine, I was gradually eradicating more out of my diet that's bad. Because there's a lot of things in, like, it's funny, I find, like, the way that I live and look after myself, like, my mates think I'm insane, and like they're like, you gotta have, and so many people say to me, like, and like family say, like, you've got to have fun in life, you know, you got to have some fun. I'm like, yeah, the more I look after myself, the more fun I have. But the funny thing is, it's like some of the things that, like, I don't consume alcohol and I don't consume like fast food. Like I wouldn't go to like a McDonald's.
Yeah.
No offense to McDonald's. Love the business model. But stuff like that, and like going back to like physics and how my brain works with science. So alcohol is a poison. So to consume alcohol, you're consuming a poison, and then the sensation of being drunk is the effects of the poison on your body. So in my mind, if someone's like, "Oh, we've had a great day, or whatever, should we go get a few beers?" That question translates in my brain. We've had a great day. Should we go intoxicate and poison ourselves? It's like, why would I go and do that? And people think I'm mental for it, but
that works for you. So
yeah, and a lot of that, the whole thing around, like, when you walk into a supermarket, the amount of things that are packaged up that are poison. So like cakes, chocolates, biscuits, I still eat loads of them. But they are just poison.
We had conversation the other day exactly about that. We know how Exactly. Not good there, but we can.
Yeah, and people like my family that are like, oh, look, you've got to have a bit of fun. You got to, you haven't got to be switched on all the time. Just have that cake, have that biscuit, that cookies. What that is just the indoctrination of marketing that has gone so well over decades to embed the philosophy that you have to, you got to have a bit of fun. And for a lot of, in the category of having fun, has just so happens to be a lot of things that are poisonous and toxic. And so a lot of the chocolate industry and snack industry has come from the cigarette industry. And when it kind of came out that, is it Philip Morris is the company? I'm trying to remember. So when it was becoming more prevalent and more known how damaging smoking is, well, what they had though was so much data and so much knowledge on how to produce products that are extremely addictive and how to market them to people to get them consuming them. And a lot of brains wired into understanding the human mind and how to, in this case, manipulate it to get it addicted to a product that is in no way beneficial, that's extremely detrimental to your life. And so I'm trying to think of the company, I can't remember the details now, but it was, they either bought a company or started a company that was then making snacks and treats and whatnot, and took that philosophy and applied it to the sweet treat industry, which is then decades later where we have this philosophy.
I think there's a great example of that through very famous Formula One commentator who was very good at he worked for marketing companies. He did that, Murray Walker, and he come with the slogan for Mars Bar. Now the Mars Bar, obviously famous chocolate bar, and the slogan was work, rest, and play. So obviously the whole thing was the chocolate was part of the play, so that become part of the pleasure, and that's exactly it, isn't it? That's one of simple marketing just to make you think that the Mars bar is going to give you that pleasure, because it's the play factor, and it's so often
that, and just the melt in your mouth experience and everything. There's so much study gone into how to perfect that experience so that it melts in your mouth and creates this real addictive sensation and experience as you digest it, and how in your body it makes you feel. Like when you consume stuff like that, it just makes you feel more hungry. And it's all designed so deliberately, and again comes back to that whole concept of
and then it leads to addiction. But it's the same, an entrepreneur will often get absolute pleasure out of success. And leading success. Well, that's it. It's going to.
But I don't know. For me, you look like someone who enjoy what is he doing. You are fine, or at least, okay, I haven't seen you in your daily routine, but it seems like you enjoy what you're doing. You've got the passion. You are a person who is doing the things because you've got the passion. And this is the main drive, I believe, to do.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Like the life I get to live, I get to do what I love every day. And I wake, like I say, I'm like my routine's out the window and I'm just working, but I love everything I do and I just get to have fun. And it's in my garden company. There was a lot of things that I didn't like doing, and a lot of it was, again, I have another system for that. When I start a company, I call it the task list. Write down every single task. You can do this for your business. Write down every single task you do in your business. It might be 100 and something. Like in my garden company, I had it down to who changes the bin bag in the bins, and every single task you can think of. And the more you can systemize and automate, the less tasks there are. But it's then go through that list and then do a traffic light system. And on one, it's preference. Green, you love it. Red, you hate it. Amber in the middle. And then delegation. Red, really hard to delegate. Green, really easy. Amber in the middle. So then just go through that list and just look at all the reds that you hate and that are green to delegate. Delegate it. And so done a lot of that. But then also in the garden company, realized the thing that I freaking love doing is all of this, the marketing, the branding, and just systemizing a business and looking at processes. It's so fun.
No,
and now I get to do it every day.
No, it's amazing. And I think, this is the privilege of the people who understand nowadays and embrace this, to do what you love and to have your time. Because as we talk about the food and how people their brains are wired to all these things they are sold to us, is the same with the concept of working. Because as much as I'm really happy I'm meeting people who are really got this mindset of flexible working, of you even as a person having your team, I know it's driven the same way, to have a bit more flexible time, people to be much more driven by passion when you hire them. But still, I can see lots of people who are thinking, if you don't work 9 till 5, you don't do work. If you don't work 9 till 5, that can be accepted as, something for life to do. So I believe what you're doing and all this fun and all this that you bring to the table is purely showing that you're enjoying. And that's the best we can have. To be free and to do what we love. And
on that note of like finding people, like one of the biggest challenges in business is finding people that like attracting great staff to your business. And that was one of the biggest challenges I had. And then crack that code where I could draw people in. And then there was so much, again, on that process where I realized I was doing so many things wrong. And one of the biggest mistakes is on your job ads. 2 important things you should have. And one of them, I've never seen a single job ad that has it. And honestly, if you want to find great staff and you want to retain them, you have to have that thing on the job ad.
Ask Hayden.
What it is.
Perfect. People can find you obviously on LinkedIn for sure. Websites.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. And
podcast. Where is your podcast?
It floats throughout. The first series was on a YouTube channel. The second series I had a different YouTube channel. The first, there's it's like not even findable. Yeah, produced by PinkPanda is a YouTube channel that's got the latest podcast. But LinkedIn, you'll see loads of clips and snippets of it. I'm on LinkedIn every bloody day. And then website for PinkPanda is pinkpanda.london. Feel free to go critique it. And then the garden company, bloomfieldss.co.uk. Remember there's 2 S's. And feel free to go critique it.
Perfect.
Hayden, thank you. Thank you very
so much.
That was amazing.
That's really good.
Yes, lots of information that I'm going to listen and write down all these valuable tips. But thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
So we hope everyone's really enjoyed today's episode. I think there's a huge amount of value. I think it's something we'll probably watch back and listen back to multiple times. You might want to make notes and have a listen again. Hayden, thank you very much. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do give us a subscribe and give us a like. We'd really appreciate that. And if you're listening on Spotify or even watching on Spotify, please do give us a follow. We hope you have a great day and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.